How you doing? It's Thursday morning. It is December the 1st. What? Seriously? Yeah. December the 1st, 8 o'clock on the dot. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. Hopefully getting your day started off on the right note, smiling, happy, all that stuff. Just a reminder, in addition to streaming on the Facebook and the Twitter and the YouTube, you can catch up with us later on. Coffee Talk all day, baby. It's on Spotify, the iHeart app, and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're available. And I try to keep that in mind and be a little more descriptive when we chat. At any rate, what a morning it was. Took the dog out, and it's like, wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. It is beautiful. Top two things we are watching. Without a doubt, this wonderful morning qualifies. On the left-hand side, we are looking over in Brevard County, where it is absolutely gorgeous. Plus, winter enters the room. What? Yeah, we're going to be talking about that as we enter December. We enter meteorological winter. So, a few things to discuss here on a Thursday morning. A day I don't have to put a suit and tie on or makeup on. It's a good day. All right, let's look outside. Showed this to you a few seconds ago. This is our shot over in Brevard County. The American flag waving in the breeze. The skies are bright. The temperatures nice and cool. Here's a look around. 66 in Titusville, 69 degrees in Melbourne, 59 in Daytona Beach, 54 in Palm Coast, and 51 in Ocala. Into the metro, it's a little milder. We're at 62 degrees in the city. But no matter where you're located, it is a beautiful, beautiful day. It's the kind of day where you just want to go outside and enjoy. I plan on doing more Christmas decorating today and picking weeds. I do have to pick weeds out of the yard. Chris says I didn't wear a tie yesterday either. I did not. But I still had to put makeup on yesterday. So, yeah, I went into the boss. So, sidebar on that. Got new suits delivered to the station yesterday. And I went to the boss and I'm like, look, I've got a tie, but I could, because I'm not doing the weather, I could kind of do the no tie thing. And she's like, yeah, let's see how it looks. So, I got a chance to be a little super casual yesterday, which may be one of the only times that's ever happened, but I'll take it. Oh, well. Anyway, all right, back to this more. We could talk more about that later. This morning, live first warning Doppler radar, rain-free, nothing to see here. Through the 12-hour forecast, nothing to see either. We will have some clouds, but pretty quiet. Pretty quiet day. 71, 11 o'clock, 74 degrees by 1 o'clock, 76 our high temperature today. This is beautiful. Look at our forecast temperatures around Central Florida compared to averages, and you'll see we're pretty close to where we should be. In Orlando, right on the dot. Sanford, you're below average. No complaining, people. Leesburg, below average, no complaining. Daytona Beach, below average, no complaining. It's really a gorgeous forecast for us today. What's going on? Why the wonderful weather? Why are things looking just so nice? Take a look at the satellite and radar. Cold front moved through, and as it did, it turned winds around and pushes in this wonderful air. This time of year, we'll take any little bit we can. Right? So here's a look at the temperatures this afternoon. Again, at or in many cases below average. 73 today in Ocala, 75 in Wildwood, 71 Daytona Beach, and 75 degrees back over to Titusville. So it is beautiful today. Let's just take a look at Futurecast. There will be some clouds, especially along our East Coast beaches as the winds continue to kind of dial around a little bit. Now, the model's trying to throw in a sprinkle or two. I think that's a little overzealous, if I'm honest with you. I don't really expect to see much in the way of shower activity, but it's there. It's something to monitor, so there's something at least to keep our eyes on. But really and truly, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. Meteorological fall has come to an end. So shall we look at some statistics from meteorological fall? First off, let's look at rainfall. Of course, hurricanes Ian and Nicole fell into meteorological fall. So September, October, and November, the wettest meteorological fall on record in Orlando. We got 28 inches. The previous record for meteorological fall goes back to 1915 at 26.5 inches. Yeah, that was something. Now, this should be no surprise. I mean, Hurricane Nicole was an incredibly rare event. We got it, baby. Yep. And by the way, meteorological fall, the average temperature through the stretch, 77 degrees. The warmest was 1986 at 78.3. So this makes the 8th warmest meteorological fall on record. All right? Good wrap? Good enough wrap? Shall we look ahead? Meteorological winter. What do the temperatures look like? Average high temperature. What is today's? Is today 76 or is today 77? Stand by one, Houston. Let's put a pin on this graphic for a minute. Okay, 76. So average high today is 76. Through the month, the entire month, the average is 74 for December and an average low of 53. So certainly, morning lows have been above average. But this month, we're definitely on the downslope, right? Average high temperature for January, 72. And then by February, we start to see those averages climb. Now, a lot of people, I say, especially if you're new to town, but like even my wife says this, like, when are we going to get cold and stay there? And it's like, this is Florida. That's never how it works. We are just always between cold fronts. We'll get a cold front. It'll drop us off. And then we'll start to warm things up until the next cold front. So it's not like we ever get cold, but the average temperature that we see is just the average essentially between fronts. All right? Lachlan's National Wonders. Good morning to you here, although over there in Australia, good extremely late evening, almost midnight in Australia, but I made it to watch your American weather. Hope you're well. Hope you're well over on the other side. Come on down. Central Florida, we've got although for you, you're in like summer at this point. Come on over to Orlando. We've got all the best theme parks. And this time of year, the weather just doesn't get better. It just doesn't get better. So kind of some interesting little statistics. We're definitely on our way down. Definitely on our way down temperature-wise. But, at least on our 7-day forecast, you wouldn't know that we've entered into meteorological winter, right? Like, let's just look at this as a summation here. Average high today, 76. Average low, 56. Look at these temperatures, though, right? 76 today. Everything else is up. Now, I do want to point out we have absolutely entered into the dry season. I mean, it doesn't take a meteorologist to decipher that. Bright sunshine, absolutely gorgeous weather, right? This is a beautiful forecast. This is a nice stretch. I was making fun of Manalfi yesterday. This is a beautiful stretch. Yeah. Tammy, Eric, how accurate do you think the record is being? They don't have the technology we have now. Oh, going way back? I mean, listen, I was doing some long-range forecasting research yesterday. Let me see if I can dial this up. I was doing some long-range forecast research. I'm starting my work on my hurricane forecast. And I'm pulling up a graphic while we're chatting. And I was talking to meteorologist Cam Tran about this, okay? So follow me on this journey. And I said to Cam, I was pulling and I was doing my day-to-day research, and Cam's like, oh man, you can look at weather maps going back. And I was like, yeah, I've case studied Hurricane Andrew. And Cam was like, how far back can you go? So let me show you. There's these sites that you can use. I can get weather data going back to 1871. So let's just look at January 1st, 1871. All right. Now, obviously, the weather map, incredibly basic. Let's do this. Let me pop this out so I can move it over. Hold on. It's a PDF. It's a PDF scan, but I, just figured it'd be kind of something interesting for you. Now, obviously, let me just widen this out a little bit. Like you can see, there's not much out west. Well, why is there not much out west? Because the West, this is 1871 for goodness sake. But when you think about the world in 1871, that there's some weather data there. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting that this kind of now. That's 1871. I can go forward. Let's look at 19. What was that record? Hold on. Let's just look at the weather map for that day, just for fun, right? That year. All right. So the wettest meteorological fall on record, 1915. So let's just pick 1915 and just find a random day in 1915. Just for fun. Just to see what a weather map looks like from that day. Or that, that time frame. So let's just pick today, December 1st, 1915. Bet you didn't think we were going to do this today, did you? But that's a weather map from December 1st, 1915. Let's look around a little bit. First off, they're talking high pressure and low pressure, y'all. I mean, for what it's worth, right? Let's come out low pressure out in the Great Lakes, high pressure up here over the northeastern United States, right? I mean, for what it's worth, that's 1915. And then there's for Illinois, fair and colder tonight. Thursday, fair. So there's some weather forecasting that's involved. But what I think is amazing, United States Department of Agriculture Weather Bureau. And then they've got over here on the side 8 a.m. and they've got locations. Washington, D.C., barometric pressure. What is that? That's abnormal change in 12 hours. The dry bulb. Thanks for that. Change in 24 hours. Highest yesterday. Lowest last night. Wind velocity in miles per hour. Precipitation. So, for what it's worth, this is one of those things, right? That you just don't think that you go finding. But there you go. This is why you hang out for coffee talk, because you just never know. You never know the goofy stuff we're going to get involved in. So anyway, that's today's date in 1915. Why did we do this again? Oh, that's right, because that was the wettest up to today, up to this meteorological fall. Oh, dear. So nerdy. So nerdy. It's a different kind of nerdy, that's right. All right, anyway, enough of that. Enough of that. Can we go to the theme parks and play? Anyone? Looks great today. 73 by lunchtime, 73 by 5 p.m. We'll get to about 74 or so. Tammy says went from the WAR map to the USDA. Yeah, when we were looking at charts yesterday, there were pieces of data from the Department of War. The Weather Bureau was under the Department of War, and it's like, boy, things have changed. This is really something. Magic Kingdom open until 6 o'clock today. You want to play some golf, maybe a little breezy. But it's pretty nice as long as you understand into the wind, people. When I was learning to fly, the wind correction angle was a big thing. You don't just fly due south. If the winds are coming in from the east, you got to turn the nose a little bit to crab your way through. Same thing plays out in terms of shooting the old golf game. Annual rain totals versus the average. Yes. All right. Yes. Let's look. How are we for rainfall? Chris Pierce asks. Let's take a look. I mean, no surprise here. Well above average. We are a foot above where we should be for this time of year in Orlando. More than a foot Sanford, Leesburg. Interestingly enough, to me, Daytona Beach is only 3 inches above. Daytona Beach was in such a severe drought prior to Ian that, yeah, big deficit filled in. It's like dealing with waves when driving a boat. Absolutely. Yeah. Should have put the Epcot forecast up. Ada Barba is the narrator tonight. I don't know who. Ada Barba? Is that a person? Am I not cool enough? Taylor says Daytona was crispy. We were almost 10 inches behind. So yeah, obviously that's made up. And you know what's kind of nice is to be able to look at the Keach-Byram Drought Index. Obviously, none of Central Florida in any sort of a drought whatsoever. We are all in the damp side of things. And even on a day like today, where we've got some decent wind and, a pretty dry atmosphere, the fire danger index is only running moderate. So it's still a thing, but we're not into the very higher extreme. Now, we may end up there at some point, but at least for now, let's hope that we're not getting there anytime soon. Assistant District Attorney from SVU. I have taught you nothing. You're not the first person to tell me that. So anyway, certainly we've entered into the dry season. Certainly we are above average thanks to our meteorological fall things. But thankfully today is the first day outside of hurricane season. Now this graphic has a ton of stuff on it. A ton of stuff. But let's just take a couple seconds. And we did this a little bit yesterday. First named storm after the start of the season. Everybody had been talking about every year we get a storm before. That wasn't the case this year. It was after June 1st for the first time in nearly a decade. No named storms from July 3rd to August 31st. The last time that had happened was 1941. We can go look at those weather charts, by the way. 4 hurricanes formed in September, 3 hurricanes in November, most ever during that month. And of course, we recall that, and I wish that I had this dialed up, but the storm that hit us, Nicole, was the first hurricane to hit Florida in the month of November, that late in the season, since 1985, since Hurricane Kate. So kind of an interesting little thing. When we look at the season as average, and we talked a lot about this yesterday, it was, all intents and purposes, an average season. The average on the left column, the season as it were on the right column, 14 named storms, 8 hurricanes, 2 major hurricanes. The average is 14, 7, and 3. So pretty much average. We called for that in our March 1st forecast, and I could tell you I put a lot of work in yesterday on our forecast. We're well on our way. I'm going to put a lot more work into the forecast today. We are well on our way to working on the 2023 hurricane season forecast. Can you believe it? We're already... And by the way, pause. So I have to share a story real fast. So I go in for my annual review yesterday, and I did exactly what I told you I was going to do. I printed out our long-range forecast, and I took my news director and assistant news director on a journey. Okay, and the last graphic printout was, let me pull it up here. The last thing on the printout was this. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So in closing, when we look at the forecast we put out, give it a second to load everything. In closing, the forecast we put out, you can see out of the 4 landfalls, they all fell within our forecast places. And so my news director said, great. So how are we doing for 2023? And I kind of smiled, and she said, oh, you don't have anything? I thought we were going to get a preview of 2023. And I was so stuck. I was like, well, I said, it's December. It was November. I'm like, it's November. I'm just starting the work. And you could see disappointment. You could see disappointment in their face. They were already ready for a preview. And I was like, well, and I'm like searching through my mind. I'm thinking to myself, like, I've got to give them something here. I've got to give them something. Chris, it was the latest impact to Florida in general since 1985. If you want to talk peninsula, Florida goes back to like 1935. The peninsula was hit in like the 30s. but it was not even as late, if I recall. So anyway, so I was like, well, if you want something for next year, Nicole is a big indicator for next year's hurricane season. And they're like, so does that mean we might get hit? And I'm like, it's definitely an indicator. And so I gave him a nugget. I gave him a nugget of something. Not sure if they wanted more. I gave him a nugget. But anyway, so we've got plenty of time now to review, to look ahead. This is my business. I will tell you, it's funny. And maybe it's because the quiet season has always bored me. I have never liked quiet weather. I like it for my personal life where I don't have to be at work, working hurricanes and things, but I like a good challenge. And with the hurricane forecasting that I do, I am proud to say I get a good challenge now. Every single off season, going through. Every single off season. So I get the challenge now. Yeah, hope you got a huge raise. So Nancy, it doesn't work that way in television because the review is the review, the contract is the contract. Contract is the money. The review is just yeah. It was a very good review. It was a very good review. Listen. I walked out of the review grateful for the content in the review. So I've never had a bad review though, if I'm honest. I don't think. Maybe in West Palm. I had a manager in West Palm who. Okay, I have to share this and then we have to get to weather. So I had a manager in West Palm and he was just out for me. He just didn't like me. He ended up getting fired a short time later, but that's a different story. He said to me on my way out, I hope you're better to your managers in Orlando than you were down here in West Palm because you've made my life a living hell. And I said, what? And it's because I wouldn't work like 17 turnarounds for him. At some point I was like, buddy, I need to sleep. And he didn't like that. He went so far as to reach out to my new I just got hired at Wesh. This guy had the gall to reach out to my management that just hired me to say, watch out, Eric is a troublemaker. Are you kidding? Like, literally, are you kidding me? The management at Wesh told me about this while I hadn't even gotten hired yet. The management at Wesh was like, hey, we just got this email, CC. What's this about? I went to my general manager in West Palm and I was like, I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. Like, this is terrible. I know I can assure you he didn't get fired for what he did with me, but like, that's just such a thing. It's such a thing. I couldn't in my entire life. So maybe he gave me a bad review, but I just could not believe that. Anyway. Let's put the train back on the tracks, huh? Hey, listen, I've been at Wesh a long time at this point. The news director and assistant news director, basically all the management team from back then is gone. So at least all of these people, although my current news director worked with me in West Palm. So Inception. Oh, man. My brother says that's illegal. Is it? If it's the same company, is it? I don't know. Spears is asking, is Nicole the only indicator so far for next season? Oh, no, there are plenty of other indicators. There are plenty of others. Kenneth says bad managers do exist. They do. Emmy says we've all had at least one of those managers. It's true. I will say my management team that I work for now is the top tier, man. I mean, just top tier, period. And I swear to you, I'm not just saying that. But there's the assistant news director and news director at Wesh are really friggin' great people. Really great leaders, really great people. Dana, so what did you say back to Wesh when they asked you about it? if I'm honest, I'm the new employee. So I was like, listen, I think that this is a personality issue here. And I explained how I used to work Friday night, turn around, do Saturday's morning show, Saturday night, turn around, do Sunday's morning show. And I was literally almost arrested one morning for suspected driving under the influence when I wasn't obviously drinking. I just had gotten zero sleep for 2 straight nights. And I explained this to Ash. I was like, listen, at the end of the day, they were pushing me to a point where I was pulled over because I was so tired I wasn't driving safely. And I think that helped them understand. But it's true. I remember I was pulled over in West Palm, and the officer sees me in a full suit. Why are we not talking about weather? Sees me in a full suit. It's at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, okay? On I-95, driving toward the television station down south, and says, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, I don't. I didn't think I was speeding. And the officer said, no, you weren't. It was a trooper. The trooper said, no, you weren't speeding, but you were swerving. Where have you been the last couple of hours? And I said, sleeping. And I'm dressed up, right? Like I'm going to work. And the officer said, have you been out partying? And I immediately realized, oh my God, this police officer thinks that I've been drinking. And I said, no, officer. I did the 11 o'clock news last night on WPBF. I ran home at 11:30. It was Saturday night, so it was probably midnight because of college football. Ran home, got a couple of hours of sleep, and here I am going back to work. And the officer says, I don't smell alcohol, but you were swerving. And I said, I worked Friday night, turned around and did Saturday's morning show, did Saturday night's show, and here I am turning around and doing Sunday's morning show. So after that, I got the scare of a lifetime, and I went into management down in West Palm. This is right before I came to Orlando. And I said, guys, I can't do this anymore. I can't do the 2 turnarounds because I almost got arrested. Like, could you imagine? Hey, where's the weather guy? Oh, he was arrested sober as a skunk, but the officer thought that he was drunk because he was so tired. You know? That really happened. That really happened. So West Palm changed my schedule, and I just think that he was so turned off by it because he had to work hard to help me get some sleep. Chris says, I always knew you were a troublemaker. That's the problem. I'm not. I'm really not. I try to be not only a rule follower, but I try to be the hero. I try to help everybody out. John says, found Wesh 2 and Eric Burris, meteorologist, years ago on a biannual trip to Walt Disney World and found the forecasting and weather alerts the best and have been following ever since. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Audra says, I had a terrible manager too. A couple, actually. They exist. Yeah, they exist. And if you're going to make trouble, make the best trouble. I think you have the best trouble. Thank you. Thank you very much. Destiny, does Wesh need a forensic analysis? No, but you know what? Let me tell you, the police officer, or the highway patrol trooper, I said to them, I can prove to you that I worked. I mean, at this time, it wasn't like you could go and watch on demand. And I said, I'll show you my work schedule. So the trooper followed me to WPBF. This is a true story. The trooper followed me to WPBF, and when you would walk in the door, the schedules were right there at the front door. And I said, here I am Friday night, 3 to midnight. Here I am Saturday morning, 3 a.m. to lunchtime. Here I am Saturday night, And I said, and here I am on this shift. And the officer looked at me and was like, you gotta tell them you can't do this because this almost happened. And I thanked the officer for everything. The officer left. I did the morning show literally terrified. Just like that rocked me to my core. Yeah. So that was the scariest moment, I would say, of my professional career. Yeah. That was something. I had a manager at AT&T like you had, Ellen says. But he was chicken enough, he didn't open his mouth till I retired. I retired after 36 years to take care of my elderly mother. He told other managers that he fired me because I was his worst employee. I was the only one that would take night calls. Wow. I had about 30 years seniority over him. Wow. That's something. Just coffee, officer. I didn't drink coffee back then. Yeah. Taylor, I would have told him to eat a Ay, Gewalt. Kelly says he's totally a troublemaker. Try to be his producer. FYI, I'm being fully sarcastic. Thank you, my dear. Yeah, that was that was a war story for sure. That was something. Yeah. Yeah, that was something. It was that was I think a defining moment in my career, if I'm honest with you. How far was I traveling? 10 minutes, but I was apparently driving that bad because I was that tired. And the worst part, I didn't even realize I was struggling to drive that day because I was so tired. Oy vey. So anyway, can we put the train back on the tracks? Like, boy, what a mess. I didn't mean to make this all about me, y'all. I don't know that I've ever like I've told that to people, but I don't know that I've ever like said that out loud in a public venue before. Don't judge me. Please don't. Woke you up at that moment. Oh no, that woke me up. Annie, that woke me up for sure. I was doing weather that entire shift, and I remember the anchor came in while I was in the lobby, like in the front entryway with the trooper. So the anchor was like, what was that about? And then when I explained it to the anchor, you could tell it like shook him, you know? Yeah. And then when I told my news director back then, he immediately made the change. But the assistant news director never liked me. The assistant news director told me on my interview that I wasn't getting hired, and then I got hired. All right, enough. Enough of that. Enough of that story. Can we talk about the weather? Let's move right on. This was a long time ago. All right. The interview was, 17 years ago, so it's been a minute. But, you don't forget these things. Chris says, Judge, we sympathize with you because many of us have been there. Yeah. Right? We all do what we got to do. And sometimes you realize I overdid it. Right? Ay. We just have to try to be the best people. That's all. We just have to try to be the best people. All right. So today, lovely. Cold front moved through. It may not be cold, but it's a cold front. Drop temperatures to average. Pop the heat bubble a little bit. And then you can see these next couple of days, the temperatures start to build. We'll need to pop the heat bubble again. Yeah. Mercy says, I've done that and opened my eyes and I was in a different street. Holy crow. I'd fallen asleep at the wheel after 2 12-hour shifts. Same as drunk driving. Holy crap. That's terrifying. Wow. Mercy, thank God that you woke up. Good gravy. Catherine says, go UCF, make it another win. Yes, Knights. Aye, can we show up to this one? All right, to all my friends that are heading out to NOLA, what a great forecast for this game. Such a great forecast. Lower 70s for kickoff, 70 flat at 6 o'clock, upper 60s little by little by little. Oh, that Tulane game is going to be great. Taylor says, no matter how tired I get physically, my body won't fall asleep at the wheel or let me drift. I think that mine would. I definitely think mine would. Yeah. Annie says, that's what makes us friends. We share. That's a good point. That's true. I did 4 16s in a row, and I still don't remember those 4 days. I mean, hurricane coverage is exhausting. It's 12-hour shift, and 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. is tough. And then when you're a parent, it's like I get off at 2 p.m. And if it's the 12-hour shift, but the hurricane isn't here yet, I'm home and I don't get to bed until 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. It's tough. But 16s is tough. Yeah. Audra says, I get not saying anything publicly. I rarely talk about the last bad manager. It was very traumatic. Yeah. You can choose who you're married to, right? Like you can say, I'm in a bad relationship and I choose to go in a different direction. You can't choose, you can, but if you're invested in a company, you can't exactly just walk away from it easily if you get a bad manager. Right? Joanne says, we're glad you're here. Me too. Thank you. Had the same issue when I worked in Rochester and I lived in Syracuse. Almost hit a bridge column. Fell asleep at the wheel. My God, troopers stopped you. You know what's the reality of it, Joanne, is they probably saved your life, and I would be willing to bet that maybe my story saved my life. Because who's to say that that wouldn't have continued and next time I didn't fall asleep at the wheel, you know? My troublemaker supervisor was fired during 2 p.m. break time when he and a fellow employee were taking illicit drugs at a store. Oh my gosh. I ended up with his job and a new supervisor. Wow, Kenneth, that's quite a story. Karen says, the new cars have the ability to keep you in the lane. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Kelly says, you're so far off the tracks right now and I'm here for it. Giddy up, right? One of the biggest reasons I bought a Tesla was because it is the safest and protects me from driving poorly. It's true. I mean, that's a big reason that I love the car as well. Yeah. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns about this as the train has flown off the tracks? What a mess. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. That's enough of that. Listen, thank you all for listening and for sharing your stories. I think at the end of the day, there are these little hints that help us, right? Joanne says they did save my life and I quit the next day. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. So we have to take each day as a blessing, right? Yeah. All right. Well, listen, no matter where we are in life, don't be that bad manager. Don't be that bad friend. Be the sunshine, right? Be the sunshine in someone else's day. It doesn't cost any money. We can do it. That's what I want our little family to do, all right? So be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so, so much for hanging out for Coffee Talk, even if the train was off the tracks more than it was on the tracks today. I guess sometimes that's just how it goes. All right, y'all. I will see you for the afternoon update, 3:30 p.m. Yeah, Taylor says be the manager you would want. Lead by example. It's true. Listen, Tony's not like the manager, you know. He's the head weather guy, but he leads by example. There's no shift Manolfi won't do. I've had plenty of people that weren't like that. Manolfi is a lead by example kind of guy. And he's not like the manager. He's not going to hire somebody or fire somebody, but he's the leader of our little pack. And I think that he leads, he puts his money where his mouth is. And I don't know, I don't think he's on Coffee Talk this morning, but I'm just telling you, Tony is that way. You know how you could tell? Because the dude works a weekend more. When I was sick, last story, when I was sick, I wouldn't call in because I didn't want to hose everybody. Who not only kicked me out of the weather department, but worked a super shift? Tony Manolfi, the only chief I have ever known, period, to work a super shift. And he did it for me. Oh, and he worked his regular shift that next week because I was sick and I couldn't fill in for him. That's Tony Manolfi, y'all. That's the real deal. And he's a putz, don't get me wrong. I'll beat the snot out of him, but he's like my really old brother. He's a good dude. All right. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you all for hanging out, and I will see you guys and gals